Hi, class. Today we will talk about personality disorders. When we talk about personality disorders or PDs, we are talking about long standing patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving that cause distress or problems in life. These patterns are not just occasional moods or habits, they are part of a person's personality that remains consistent over time. A person with personality disorder doesn't just quote unquote act out. Sometimes these traits are deeply ingrained and often inflexible, meaning it's pervasive, no? Deeply ingrained, no? It's etched in the personality, or it's etched in the trait of the person. For example, imagine someone who always assumes others are trying to hurt them, even when there is no proof. No, this kind of suspiciousness is not temporary. It is part of their personality. Personality disorders usually start showing during the adolescence or early adulthood, and it remains stable through life unless treated. What makes these disorders significant is that they lead to distress or problems in social, occupational, or personal functioning. Distress and dysfunction. Again, before we diagnose, we need to really know if it actually covers any distress, dysfunction, danger, and deviance. The DSM-5-TR, or Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, divides personality disorders into two major sections. The first section, section 2, uses the categorical model. This is what we've traditionally used. It lists 10 specific disorders, each with its own criteria. The second is the section 3. Okay? It introduces the dimensional model, which sees personality traits as existing on a spectrum rather than as separate boxes. Meaning, it proposes a more flexible approach. It understands disorders as extreme variants of normal personality traits. It's a spectrum. No? Think of it like this. The categorical model says you either have it or you don't, while the dimensional model says you might have certain traits in varying degrees. So it is in terms of degrees if we talk about dimensional model. This actually helps clinicians understand people in a more nuanced way. For example, instead of saying quote unquote, this person has BPD or borderline personality disorder. A dimensional model could describe them as having high emotional instability and impulsivity traits. Both models are helpful. One is for clear diagnosis, for other or while the other is for understanding personality complexity. If it is complexity, it is more on the dimensional model. Okay, so for cluster A, so there are actually three clusters. Cluster A, B, and C. For Cluster A includes individuals who often seem strange or eccentric. They might appear socially awkward or detached, but they are not psychotic. No? First is paranoid personality disorder. These people have a deep distrust of others. They often believe that people are out to get them, even without clear evidence. For instance, A coworker might interpret a friendly joke as an intentional insult. Their world feels unsafe and they are constantly on guard. So they are the paranoid. There is paranoia. Next, later on the when we talk about the clusters, of course, we will talk about each of the PD. This is just an introduction. Next is schizoid personality disorder. These individuals prefer to be alone. They don't seek close relationships and often appear emotionally cold or indifferent. You might see them at work quietly doing their job, but never joining lunch with others. They simply don't find pleasure in social interaction. Those are with schizoid personality. Again, we need to check if there is distress or dysfunction. Finally, schizotypal. Some they pronounce it as schizotypal. No, yeah. PD, it involves people who behave and think in very unusual ways. They may believe in magical thinking, like sensing future events or having special powers. They often have like odd speech or dress styles and may feel extremely uncomfortable in social settings. However, they are not psychotic. They just see the world differently. Cluster A personalities remind us of people who are isolated or misunderstood, often because their thinking patterns are so different from the norm. That's why they're called the odd and eccentric. Okay. Cluster B personalities are known for being emotional, unpredictable, and intense. Their actions and emotions can shift quickly, often causing difficulties in relationship. Antisocial personality disorder, no, one of the cluster B PDs is antisocial personality disorder. It is characterized by a lack of empathy or regard for others. These individuals may manipulate, lie, or harm without guilt. They often break laws or violate others' rights. Imagine someone who cons people, mga con artist pa, who cons people for money and feels no remorse afterward. Those are with APD. Okay. How about BPD or borderline personality disorder? It involves extreme emotional instability. One moment, the person might adore someone, and the next, they might feel abandoned or betrayed. They often fear being left alone and may engage in impulsive acts like self harm. Their relationships are intense but unstable. Okay. So, some in the pop culture, no, they would say that if you are with a person with BPD, your relationship is purely toxic. Yeah. So histrionic personality disorder involves, or in this disorder or PD, no, individuals love attention. Histrionic, no, they love attention. They can be charming and lively, but also dramatic or overly emotional. They might dress or I mean, provocatively, or exaggerate emotions to stay in the spotlight. No. Their goal is not manipulation. It is to be noticed and admired. Okay? So it is not to manipulate others, but to be noticed and admired. That's the histrionic, no? For the NPD or the narcissistic personality disorder, it involves grandiosity. These individuals believe they are superior and they expect special treatment. They crave admiration but often lack empathy. When criticized, they can become angry or defensive. It's not confidence, it's fragile self esteem hidden beneath arrogance. So, deep inside, no, they have fragile self esteem. So overall, again, we will talk about specific, we will have separate discussion for cluster BPDs. So overall, cluster B personalities tend to act impulsively and emotionally. They can be charming one moment and explosive the next. Okay, so let's have cluster C. Cluster C includes people who are anxious, fearful, or overly cautious. Their behaviors often stem from deep insecurity or fear of rejection. Avoidant personality disorder is marked by extreme shyness and fear of criticism. These individuals want relationships, but are too afraid of being judged and rejected. For example, a person might decline party invitations because they are convinced others will mock them. Now, again, other than that, you need to check if there is distress or dysfunction or others. No? So for DPD or dependent personality disorder, it involves an excessive need to be taken care of. These people rely heavily on others for decisions, reassurance, and emotional support. They often fear being alone or abandoned, which makes them cling to unhealthy relationship. Like classic term, I cannot live without you. You are my air and my everything. Like that. Right? So OCPD, it's different from OCD, which is the obsessive compulsive disorder. If there's PD, it's different, no? These individuals are perfectionists who need order and control. They may focus so much on details that they forget the bigger picture. For instance, a manager might spend hours editing reports instead of meeting deadlines. Their rigidity often causes stress for themselves and for other people. For cluster C personalities, they often struggle with self-doubt, indecision, and fear of failure or rejection. That's why they are anxious or fearful, cluster C. So sometimes personality changes are not caused by lifelong traits, but by medical or neurological conditions. For instance, brain injuries or diseases can alter someone's personality. This is called personality change due to another medical condition. Okay, example. There's a classic example before that back in the era, no, of veins, no. One was struck with an arrow directly in his head. So after removal, he survived. However, his personality changed, no, afterwards. There's also other specified personality disorders. It is used when a person shows clear signs of a personality disorder but does not fit neatly into one category. So, same with other disorders, something that fits with PD but not a specific PD, right? So, meanwhile, unspecified personality disorder is used when the information is incomplete but enough to cause significant distress or impairment. No, unspecified. Okay. So, clinicians use these categories to describe people whose behaviors clearly cause problems, even if they don't align with one of the 10 main disorders. So to simplify, no, cluster A are the quote unquote weird ones or odd, no? It's in layman lang ha. So cluster B are the wild, again layman. So they are the dramatic or unpredictable ones. Cluster C are the worried ones because of their anxiety and fearfulness. This ABC system helps helps you remember the types easily. So, but remember, real people they don't fit neatly, meaning wala gyud swak, no, into the boxes. So some might show traits from more than one cluster. For instance, a person can be both anxious and dramatic. So cluster C and B. That's why clinicians often would look at overall patterns, not just single labels. So studies show that around 10% of the population may have a personality disorder. Cluster B is the most common, no? So cluster B, the dramatic, no? So because or particularly borderline and antisocial personality disorders. Interestingly, cultural and social contexts influence how these traits appear. For example, behavior seen as narcissistic in one culture might be considered confident in another. This actually shows the importance of understanding personality within its cultural background. Again, especially in the future, if you will have foreign clients, of course, you need to check also their culture. Is it normal, typical in them, but it causes distress? Maybe the distress is not about the personality. Maybe it's adjusting to a different culture, right? So the dimensional model, okay, again, categorical and dimensional. So the dimensional model suggests that personality exists on a spectrum rather than labeling someone as having disorder or like that. We look at how extreme their traits are. It includes 5 major dimensions. Okay. So negative affectivity, detachment, negative affectivity, it's a tendency uh, to feel, no, frequent negative emotions. Detachment is the avoidance of social interaction. Antagonism, it's feeling of being or having hostility, manipulation, and arrogance. Disinhibition, it's on the impulsivity and irresponsibility. While psychoticism, it's the unusual beliefs in in like that. So for example, a little bit of perfectionism or self-confidence is normal. But when it becomes rigid or excessive, like constant control or arrogance, it moves toward dysfunction. This approach helps clinicians describe people's unique personality patterns instead of forcing them into categories. So, general personality disorder. To diagnose a personality disorder, the DSM-5-TR outlines 6 criteria. No? These involve enduring patterns that deviate from cultural expectation. That's deviance. No? It affect it affects cognition, emotions, relationship, and impulse control. These patterns must be inflexible, cause distress or impairment, and be stable over time. For it to be personality disorder, it's long over time or over it is stable over time, meaning since then until now. Importantly, they cannot be due to another mental disorder, substance use, or other medical condition. The key takeaway here is that the pattern must be long-term and cause real-life problems, not just occasional or bad moods. Same with, example, you would say, ay, naaman ni siya PD kay hilak man siya, gibuwagan siya sa iyang uyab. It's not like that immediately. Di ka mo ingon, ay, cluster B na siya. No. You should really say, I think that, is it the same with all of her or his relationship? Is it just now? Or what are the other causes of that? Or maybe is it the first time that that person have experienced relationship or no? Okay. So the diagnostic features. So when clinicians assess personality disorders, they look for patterns. Okay? Patterns that are consistent across time and situations. Personality traits only become disordered when they cause distress or harm. Again, remember your 4Ds. The tricky part, many individuals don't see their behavior as problematic. No? They think it's just who they are. That's why it is ego-syntonic, meaning I'm in harmony with myself. No? I don't see this as a disorder. It's not me, it's you problem. No? So, for example, someone who is controlling may see themselves as organized and not rigid. No, that's why it's important to get input from family, coworkers, or friends when assessing personality traits. That's why, you know what, class? It's so rare that you would find someone with PD who will go to the clinic and have themselves checked, no, because they don't see any problem with themselves. Most of the time, they would have problems once other people would complain about their behavior already. Okay, that's the it is ego syntonic nature, unlike depression. No, it's dystonic, meaning they would feel it. No, I'm not like this. No, pero if it is PD, it is I've always been like this. This is who I am, like that. I don't have any problem. So it's ego syntonic. I hope that's clear. So personality disorders usually begin to show during adolescence or early adulthood. They tend to be stable, but some, like borderline or antisocial, may lessen with age. Others, such as obsessive, compulsive, or schizotypal, they often persist. So diagnosis in children is rare and only made if the traits have lasted for at least 1 year. Life events can also affect personality. For instance, loss of a loved one or trauma can worsen symptoms. On the other hand, therapy, stable relationships, or supportive environments can help improve functioning. Well, culture shapes personality. No? So it's relevant, no? The nature and nurture. What seems like a disorder in one society might be normal in another. Clinicians must avoid pathologizing cultural behavior. For example, what do you mean by that? Strong family dependence is valued in collectivist cultures, just like Asian, no, Asian culture. But in Western settings, it might look like dependency. No? So, dito maingon na natay dependent PD kung ang atong parents kay ang apo kay naa gihapon diha, no? It could be it's because it's one of the cultural factor in the Philippines that we have close family ties, no? It's also important to consider migration and acculturation. Someone adapting to a new culture may appear withdrawn or anxious, not because of a disorder, but probably because they are still adjusting. That's different, no? So, cultural sensitivity ensures accurate and fair diagnosis. Certain disorders appear more often in one gender. So men are more often diagnosed with antisocial or NPD or narcissistic personality disorders. This is based on research, ha? This is based on the DSM-5-TR. While women are more often diagnosed with borderline, histrionic, or dependent PD. This may reflect biological or social differences or even diagnostic bias. No? So clinicians must even avoid stereotyping. A woman showing assertive traits should not automatically be labeled narcissistic, and a man who is emotionally expressive should not be seen as histrionic. The key is to look at behavior patterns objectively and not through the lens of gender norms. So, differential diagnosis. Personality disorders can resemble other conditions, so clinicians must carefully rule out other causes. Mood disorders, psychosis, substance use, or medical conditions like brain injury can mimic personality symptoms. For instance, irritability from depression might look like borderline instability, or impulsivity from mania might resemble antisocial traits. Understanding the individual's history and stability of symptoms is crucial for accurate diagnosis. Okay, so what are the key takeaways or reflection? Personality disorders are deeply ingrained patterns of behavior that can make life difficult, both for the person and those around them. They are not about bad behavior, but rather long term, inflexible traits that interfere with functioning. There is dysfunction. Remember, diagnosis should or must consider cultural background and gender and life context. The dimensional model reminds us that everyone has personality traits. It's only when they become rigid and harmful that they turn into disorders. So, your personality becomes a disorder when it stops helping you survive and starts keeping you from living. Okay. So, I would end with the introduction, and later on, we will continue with the cluster A personality disorders. So, I hope you learned something. Thank you so much, class.